and welcome. I'm Kritika Saxena and we're here today for a special interview. Prashant Ruia has been a busy man over the last 2 years and he's here today at a time when the company has finished a last tranche of a significant payment. What lies ahead for the group? What more can we expect? And what are the nitty-gritties that need to be ironed out? Prashant, lots to talk about, so let's dive right in. 1.37 lakh crore rupee debt repaid in the last 1.5 to 2 years roughly. You have stated that this is 80% of your debt. So take us through how much is left now, what is the breakup, and who are the lenders that are yet to be paid?
So firstly, just to give you a little bit of background, sure. We kicked off a program about now little over two years ago. Yeah. And this was because we, in 2010, we kicked off a very large expansion program in India. It was 1,25,000 crores in all the 4 sectors of businesses which we do, steel, oil and gas, etc. And after about 3 or 4 years, we faced regulatory and judicial issues, cancellation of gas allocation, cancellation of coal mines, etc. And that forced us to invest additional 30,000 crores of equity in the business, and delayed our projects by some of our key projects by 3 or 4 years. That led to an excessive leverage, and we, as a result of that, or as a reaction to that, as a group, we felt that it would be right to delever. And I think we have come pretty much to the end of that program. And we now have monetized some of our key assets, which have fetched premium valuations, and which I think is a testament to the quality of businesses which we have built over a period of time. And now we have repaid about 80% of our group debt, which works out to 1,37,000. What that means is about 20% is left over. More importantly, the 4 main lines of business which we have, which is metals and mining, oil and gas, infrastructure and services, they continue. We still remain focused on all 4 sectors. Essar Steel is something which we'll see what comes out given what's happening in the courts. And independent of that, the group will have about $11.5 billion of revenues in these 4 businesses. And now with a much stronger and lighter balance sheet, we will look at growth opportunities both in these sectors and in other sectors going forward.
Okay, fair enough. You spoke about how the debt is just 20% left. Can you help us understand the exact amount, and how much time would you take to complete that payment? No,
there is no further payment, major payment plan. We pretty much repayment program is pretty much come to an end. We have one majority, nearly 60 to 70% of the balance debt is really in the power portfolio. Correct. And power sector has been going through a lot of issues over the last 2 or 3 years, with the cancellation of the coal mines, non-availability of PPA, all kinds of issues. The whole sector has been facing a lot of issues, but thankfully most of those issues are now getting addressed. And we hope that our power portfolio, the last piece of it, we will address within the next 2 quarters.
Within 2 quarters? Yeah. How would you do that? Can you give us details in terms of?
There's no real, there's no real change. We have completed all the projects, barring one project, all of the power plants are operational. We have a total of 5,000 megawatts of power. 3,800 megawatts of that is operational. 1,200 megawatts is under construction. That project needs to be completed. That's really the last project in the whole group portfolio which is left to be completed. But again, project got into trouble because the mine was cancelled, financing got pulled, and we had an incomplete project, but now we will complete that in the next 18 months. So the debt repayment in power is going to be via the process? It's more of a refinance. There is no real refinancing. There's no. What is the exposure right now in terms of debt for Essar Power? I think it's about 18,000 crores, maybe.
18,000 crores. So in the next 2 quarters, you will be able to refinance and bring that down.
Not all of it requires refinancing. A portion of it requires refinancing. We will do that in the next 2 quarters.
Okay. Any plans of bringing an investor on board for Essar Power?
No. There are no plans.
Not at this point in time.
Right.
Okay. Let's talk about the last tranche of repayment that you did, Prashant. 12,000 crore rupees was the last tranche. Take us to where the capital came from, and that was paid to the Indian banks.
No, so basically Essar Global, this was, it was the last tranche. So principally about a year and a half ago when we did the Essar Oil monetization with Rosneft and Trafigura in August 2017, we repaid about $5 billion of our debt at Essar Global, and the last tranche was about 1.75 billion, which was recently given back. The only lender left now at Global is VTB.
Yeah.
VTB has been working with us over the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Over the last 3 or 4 years, in helping us rebuild and monetize some of our assets.
Sure.
And they continue, but they also will not be continuing for long. So it's a very short-term thing, and principally the Essar Global by next year, or sorry, now the current year, will be debt-free.
So by the end of this fiscal,
debt-free.
by March, you're expecting to be debt-free.
Yes.
So exposure with VTB is going to be cleared. Yes. Any kind of agreement with VTB with respect to specific assets, with respect to?
No. We've pretty much completed the program which we had for monetization. We've completed a program for debt reduction. So we're pretty much trying to draw a line in that phase. And we are actually looking forward to an Essar 2.0.
Okay.
Where we are actually looking at building the business back for a future.
And the 4 sectors that you outlined are going to be the core sectors that you will focus on. Can you very quickly tell me what is the exposure left for Essar Global, the amount in terms of the debt, consolidated debt at this point in time?
I don't want to. Okay, it's about $1.6 billion.
Okay, great. Just to clarify on another point that you have outlined yesterday, you've settled with lenders with respect to Essar Steel Minnesota as well. Can you help us with the breakup of ICICI Bank and SBI? How much do they get?
No, I can't do that. But we have clarified that I think nearly about 6,000 odd crores has got repaid to a group of ICICI, Axis and Standard Chartered.
Okay. Yeah. Prashant, you spoke about the group revenues, $11.5 billion, and this is excluding Essar Steel, correct? The 4 businesses, can you help us understand the outlook there? What is the breakup? Which are going to be the dominating businesses? What will Essar Group look like, say, in 2022 or 2025? Whatever timeline you're comfortable with.
In terms of the 4 business portfolios, so basically oil and gas, we principally have the Stanlow refinery business in the UK, which is about 16% of the UK market. It's a very strong refinery. We invested heavily over the last few years in upgrading the refinery and making it top of the line in the top quartile of refining capacities in Europe. We are investing in retail and building a retail network in the UK. And then we have an E&P portfolio, which is basically a non-conventional energy. Yeah. So shale gas and coal bed methane gas. We are the largest player in that space in India, and we are going to continue to invest in that sector. And then infrastructure is principally ports and power. I already took you through the power portfolio. We also are number 2 operator in the ports sector. I mean, so all of these sectors, right? If you look at these businesses, all of these businesses continue to have huge potential in India. In the last 4 or 5 years, we haven't seen significant capital investments in these sectors, and India continues to grow. 6%, 7%, 8%, depending on the sector, and so. Over the next, decade, 5 years, 10 years, there would be, a lot of opportunity in these sectors. Further, in the last few years, many of these sectors have got consolidated a lot, and therefore the number of players are much less. And so, if you have a existing position in these sectors, then the opportunity for growth very much exists going forward.
So $11.5 billion, what's your vision, Prashant? By how much do you want to scale up revenues? Is there a target that you've set for yourself, keeping these 4 sectors in mind?
No, we haven't set a specific target. To be honest, last few years has been a phase where we've consolidated, we've monetized some of our assets, we've addressed some of the regulatory and judicial sort of challenges which we've had as a group. Now is the time to actually, put that phase behind us, start looking at the future. I mean, we've never gone by, even in the past, we've really not gone by just saying, we want to, double our revenue or double our this. That's never been the way we've gone about it. We've looked at each opportunity as it arises, in the various different sectors, and then we've seen what best suits what we can do, and we've looked at it on that basis. I mean, but if you see our track record and if you see our history, then growth is something which we've always done.
You're out of most of the listed areas. Any plans to list any of the businesses later on?
Not immediately, no. I mean, however, in the future, if there is a opportunity and if there is a potential to list some of our companies, sure, we'll look at it.
Okay. Can you give me a breakup, Prashant, in terms of the $11.5 billion of the current portfolio? You spoke about the 4 core businesses. Which is the largest contributing in terms of revenue? If you can help us understand the revenue breakup.
Yeah, in terms of revenue, I would say the oil and gas business, because of the nature of the business, is the most the largest contributor. So I think nearly $7.5 billion of that is in the oil and gas business, and then the rest is sort of distributed amongst all of the other businesses, power and ports and the rest of the portfolio. We have a mining portfolio, we have, and this is other than steel, and we have to see what comes out of that.
Sure. Yeah. We'll talk about steel in a bit. Help me understand how you spoke about Essar 2.0. Are you in a position now, because last 2 years were about monetization, were about consolidation. Are you now in the position to invest again? Would you look at aggressive investment, or would you perhaps hit the pause button, be cautious while you're investing in the next 2 years?
No, I mean, obviously we're not going to be in an aggressive investment program immediately.
Yeah.
No, there's not, obviously not. We want to be conservative. We want to be very cautious in the way we look at the business going forward. We still have, as I said, we still have 1 or 2 things to resolve in terms of what comes out of steel and our power portfolio, but we are open. We're going to be looking at opportunities going forward, and see what makes sense. Obviously, the investment thesis has to be slightly different, given what's happened in India in these sectors in the last few years, but that doesn't mean that there's not going to be any investment going forward.
So, any capital expenditure target?
No.
You're not going to give me that, right?
No, we don't have it.
Let's talk about Essar Steel, Prashant. I understand that some portion of it is sub judice, but help us understand, as of now, what is your expectation? You have made a proposal of 53,389 crore rupees to the COC. This is higher than what ArcelorMittal had offered, 42,000 crore rupees, but your bid came after the COC declared the H1. Now it's in courts. What is your expectation of the resolution process as it stands? Any clear indication on if the company or a company can withdraw the insolvency process altogether?
No, I mean, clearly, first of all, the matter is sub judice, so it's difficult to say very clearly, what I expect or not. However, let me just give you a little bit of background. Essar Steel has been an asset which is one of India's premier steel companies. I think the valuations which have come out reflect the quality of the asset and the strategic nature of the asset in the Indian steel scenario. Having said that, the principal reason Essar Steel got into difficulty was the cancellation of the natural gas, which affected the company badly. More than 60% of the plant remained shut for nearly 4 years, and in the meantime, we continued to support the company and got into difficulty. There was a restructuring plan which was agreed between us and the lenders, but again, that could not be completed in time. And now we are in the IBC process. In the IBC process, we have given a proposal now, which we believe is a superior proposal compared to the one which the lenders have already. And we are awaiting the decision. Unfortunately, the matter is again in the courts, and we have to await for what decision comes out of the court process.
Okay. Where are the funds coming from? What is the source of funds? If you can outline, do you have an investor on board or investors on board?
Yeah, so I'm not at liberty to give you more information than what's already out there in the public domain, but we will be having nearly about 30,000 crores of debt on the asset, which is very normal. And the rest will come in the form of equity. And yes, we do intend having partners along with us for the equity component. I'm not at liberty to disclose the names right now, but it is a fully funded proposal, and we would urge the lenders to look at it a little bit more seriously.
And you have partners, so you have more than one investor on board as far as the equity component is concerned. The 30,000 crore rupees is debt. Why would you want to take debt to repay the debt at this point? Is it just a last-ditch effort?
Yeah, any acquisition which is done in India or overseas has to be, because you're buying an asset which is completely debt-free, and you would have a certain component of debt which would go on to the target, and the rest would be in the form of equity. I mean, it doesn't matter whether we are doing it or anybody else who's considering acquiring this company or Bhushan or any other company for that matter. The financing mechanism is the same. It's no different. And so obviously that's the conventional wisdom, and that's what we are following.
Okay, Prashant, but the question that bankers are asking is that why come out now? Why not earlier? Why were the funds, or why was the offer not made earlier? And why come out right after H1 was declared?
Well, I think that's a bit unfair, because the way the process has been structured, we were really not permitted to give a proposal earlier. So even though we tried to give a proposal, initially there was a 29A rule which was brought out, which prevented existing promoters from participating in the process, and that rule was applied retrospectively onto us. After that, for nearly a year, we approached the lenders 2 or 3 times, and all the time we were told that because of the 29A, you cannot participate. Then a new rule came out, which was the 12A rule, which permitted existing companies, existing promoters, to put in a proposal to withdraw the company from IBC with a 90% vote. So now we are being told that that rule is applicable prospectively, and therefore not applicable to you.
Yes.
So I mean, and so that's what's going to get decided in the courts. And we gave the proposal the moment there was an opportunity to give a proposal where our bid would be even considered. Until the 12A rules came out, there was not a chance for us to give a proposal. So so I mean, the timing was really linked to that. I don't think it was nothing to do with when the H1 came or when the H1 did not come. Our proposal is 12,000 crores more than the H1 bid.
Correct. Can you give me a breakup, if you can, of you've also offered to pay, Arcelor's offer is to pay the lenders an 8,000 crore working capital. Your offer, I believe, includes even the operational creditors and erstwhile employees as well. Can you give me a breakup of that?
I can't give you a breakup, but principally our proposal provides 100% recovery of principal and interest to the Indian secured lenders.
Sure.
It provides also a 100% recovery to the operational creditors and the unsecured creditors.
Okay, so the entire dues would be complete.
So effectively, all the creditors, whether secured, unsecured, operational, whatever have you, they will all get 100%. I mean, they'll all get full recovery.
And what is your plan right now? Is it going to be an upfront repayment or a scheme over a period of time?
A very large percentage of it, nearly 47,000 crores, is an upfront payment.
Okay.
And the rest is to be paid over a period of, I think, 2 or 3 years.
Okay. Just to play devil's advocate, bankers say that you have not been able to disclose the fund resources to assure them to withdraw the IBC process, and that's why it hasn't been considered. What's your take here? What's your counter to that?
Well, they haven't asked us.
But why haven't you declared the fund resources to them?
As I said, they haven't asked us, and obviously they've asked you, but they've not asked us. And I think I don't think the issue really being debated in the court is the financing. I think the issue being debated in the court is whether under 12A they can consider our proposal or not. I think that's the real issue. Once there is a decision on that, then the question becomes: is our proposal considerable? Can they consider it? What are the financing, whatever. But I think that stage will come later. Right now, if the current 12A rules are applied, then the question is whether it can be considered or not. And let's see. We have to await the outcome of that.
You're confident of the investors that you have on board so far?
I mean, we are confident of the proposal we have given. Absolutely.
We have seen some cases in which some steel assets have been taken over in the IBC process, and yes, you are seeing initial signs of turnaround. What convinces you that you will be able to take Essar Steel to a level which other companies won't?
Well, I think our track record in the steel business has been fairly strong. I think we've built a world-class business. I think our asset, in terms of its capacity and quality of steel which we produce and competitiveness is fairly strong. The reason the company got into difficulty was beyond our control. It was the cancellation of a natural gas, which is a raw material for our steel plant. That was something which one could not have planned for. It didn't matter who the promoter was, he would have the same outcome. If your principal source of energy is suddenly yanked away, I think you're going to have the same outcome, doesn't matter who the promoter is.
If, hypothetically speaking, if you still had Essar Steel, what would the profitability be right now?
That's very speculative to say. I
can't go into it right now because there would be so many. Okay,
it will be unfair
so I
to say.
am going to ask you a broader question that a lot of people are asking. Steel prices are at a high right now. There seems to be a talk about a recovery, but there is, I think if you look at the prices are at almost a 15 to 20% high in terms of the international figures. It has seen an upturn, but now the fear is that there is a slowdown around the corner. Does that mean that we would be back to square one from a steel industry perspective?
So the steel industry is a cyclical industry.
Exactly.
So it is an industry which has a few good years and then a few bad years. We've been through this over the last 2 decades where we've had 2 or 3 downturns and a few upturns. So that's something which you factor into your business model if you're in the steel commodity cycle industry. What you have to see is whether the plant, whether the company is competitive even in the down cycle. And I think generally most steel companies in India are reasonably competitive.
But you don't think that there is a slowdown in the industry around the corner?
There has been in the recent past. There has been a slowdown, but it was at a very high.
It's not going to be what it was earlier, is what you're saying.
We certainly don't hope that, and we don't see that yet. No.
You don't see that yet.
Because the rest of the world markets still remain strong. US remains strong, and China growth is coming back. So I think overall we don't see that kind of a negative downturn.
Okay. Before we wrap, 2019 is going to be an eventful year. There are elections around the corner. There is a lot of movement with respect to macroeconomic issues across the world. What is your perspective in terms of how things will change for Indian corporates before and after the elections?
Well, that's a tough one. I mean, from globally, if I was to say first, clearly, there are a lot of headwinds currently in the global macro scenario, right? We've got a lot of issues coming out of the US, Europe, UK with Brexit, and so if you really look around, Middle East is having its own set of issues. So despite all of this, the broad growth and economic numbers still are coming out fairly good. But there are these headwinds which are there, and I'm not sure where they will all land. But this year they will all we'll see the end of some of them at least in the current year. India still remains strong economy. India still remains, all the basic parameters of growth and consumption in India remain intact. I think the policies which have come out already in the last few years, have cleared the way for future growth and future development. We certainly need to see a new investment phase in India, which has been sort of lacking in the last few years. And that's something which we look forward to. May not be in the current year, but certainly in the next...
But do you think investments appetite should revive after elections, at least in the second half of this calendar year?
It has to, because we've really not seen significant investment coming in, and growth continues to remain strong. 7% growth is a strong growth for a country like India. We obviously want it to be better, but even where we are, it's a strong growth, and new capacity will ultimately be required, to meet that demand.
Exactly.
And we don't have that. We don't see that yet. So certainly, if not later this year, but in the next year or two, we will have to see a revival of investment in all of the manufacturing, infrastructure, commodity sectors, which has been lacking in the last few years.
Interesting point. Thank you so much, Prashant, for speaking to us, and good luck for the road forward and for Essar 2.0.
Thank you.
That was a whole wide perspective from Prashant Ruia on what lies ahead for Essar and Outlook and 2.0, and what are the projects that they want to fight for and the businesses that they want to grow. Thank you so much for watching this special show.